What's up, ATOZ Sports Live on a Thursday. Going to have a good show talking about a Titans power ranking ahead of the 2024 training camp season. And Sam is what he's calling an unfortunate truth about the Titans. So I have no idea. This is one of those shows where I'm blind and Sam can see. So we'll see if I can get shown through the path of the Yahoo Sports power rankings that they are releasing one team each day throughout this offseason. So we're going to discuss the Titans landing spot in the Yahoo Sports power rankings ahead of training camp, just about less than a month away. That's good news. How about less than a month away of Titans training camp? So we're going to go through this, the unfortunate truth. We'll talk about where Yahoo Sports was right about the Titans in the power rankings, where Yahoo Sports was most wrong about the Titans power rankings, fair or foul, where they landed. Then, Sam, guess what? I got the bucket. When's the last time you did the magic bucket?
Man, it has been it's been a long time. I don't remember. Genuinely, okay. Actually, I do think it was the elf ears that occurred right after the NFL draft. Yeah,
that's right. Right around the draft is the last time that Sam's done the magic bucket. So we'll do the magic bucket to wrap up this Thursday. So, Sam, welcome the people in here and let's get this thing rolling.
Hey, let's do it. Going to be a good show. Got some interesting stuff to talk about. You know, I think there are going to be some truths revealed, some unfortunate truths revealed, and then also going to be some lies and criticisms that we have of some power rankings here this morning. So it's going to be a good, entertaining show. Going to have some hot takes that we fire off, and the chat's going to have to stay involved. And that starts right now, because if you're in the chat, you got to share the show before we go here this morning. You got to go ahead on Facebook, hit that share button in the bottom right corner. If you're watching on YouTube, take the YouTube link and send it to a friend, send it to a group chat. Get people that maybe don't know about A to Z Sports, introduce them to A to Z Sports. That's the best way to support us. And before we kick things off here with a great show on a Thursday morning, Austin.
Yep, let's do it officially. Welcome into A to Z Sports, powered as always by the BetMGM app. I'm Austin Stanley. He is Sam Phelan, our Titans reporter for ATOZsports.com, and we are Nashville's on-demand sports talk network, going live weekday mornings at 8 Central Time on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Links to the show segment by segment on our Twitter X timeline. Also hit us up on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads for more great Titans content. We got to thank our sponsors because they make it happen for us, and they help out all of you, like Wilson County Hyundai. Make them a part of your new car buying process in Lebanon, or wilsoncountyhyundai.com. The Bone and Joint Institute, boneandjointtn.org, the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care, and Farm Bureau Health Plans. Get better with Farm Bureau Health Plans. You can do that by getting a link to save money on your health coverage and getting better health coverage than you currently have, and that's by using our link, fbhp.com/ATOZ. So we're going to dive into a lot of great conversation today about the Titans power rankings, and King VC early says lock in, like the show with the super chat. So please be like King VC and hit that like button. Joshua says YouTube's really struggling with the like ratio for people watching to like. So it is early. We've been live for 3 minutes and 40 seconds. So it's early. Hit that like button if you haven't already. Appreciate that. Real quick, did see a comment that wasn't sure about that. Trilogy Taylor says, "How do I get an ad on live? Like a advertisement?"
I think
you can go to my Twitter.
It's a YouTube question.
Yeah, go to my Twitter account, and my email is there. You can send me an email if that's what you're talking about. So that is that. So Sam, we're going to dive into this power rankings update from Yahoo Sports. So I have no idea what has been said about the Titans. I do know where the Titans are in the Yahoo Sports power rankings. So they're going through these day by day. So let's get an update of the first 5 teams in the Yahoo Sports power rankings from 32nd to 28. So the last 5 teams, the bottom 5 teams in Yahoo Sports current power rankings: the Panthers at 32, the Patriots at 31, the Broncos at 30, the Commanders at 29, and the New York Football Giants at 28. I think those are probably going to be 5 of the worst teams in the NFL this year. Do you, Sam?
Yeah, I mean, we listen, this is a unique power ranking system that Yahoo Sports is doing. They're not putting out the entire list all at once. They're not giving you 1 to 32 and giving you, where your team ranks and giving you reasons to be upset or mad right away. They've been counting down from 32 and going over the worst teams in the NFL first. So each team gets their own article. Each team gets their own little write-up about where they're at and the outlook for 2024. And as you said, these teams are probably going to be pretty awful. Carolina, we know the situation there. Disaster season, still not a very competitive roster, despite them spending a lot of money in free agency. Bryce Young may or may not figure it out, but certainly if you're going off of where Bryce Young was last year, you don't have a lot of confidence in Carolina. New England, new quarterback, but a really bad roster around that quarterback. Same thing in Washington down there. The Giants are paying Daniel Jones a big chunk of money and don't have many offensive weapons. And then Denver, Sean Payton, I guess gives you reason to be somewhat optimistic that he can figure it out in year 2. But your quarterback in Denver right now is Zach Wilson / Bo Nix, and whoever ends up starting there, they've run into some cap problems in Denver as well. So I do think these are 5 of the worst teams and 5 of the teams that just have some long-term question marks where even if there's like, all right, maybe there's a path for them to go 6-11, 7-10 and be competitive. They don't have a real trajectory as organizations and should be at the bottom of the league.
So I think there's no gripes about that. So Sam, now, as we just saw 32 through 28, who is the 27th team on the Yahoo Sports power rankings as they go in reverse order here?
Yeah, the 27th team is those Tennessee Titans. So the Tennessee Titans at 27. Now, if you're doing math at home here, the Titans had the 27th best record in the NFL last season, tied for the 26th best record based on where they drafted in the NFL draft. So Yahoo Sports has them right in the same spot they finished last year. So they go over a couple of different categories. And, here is one of their main ones. Let me try and figure out which one's which here. One thing that they report on is the quarterback situation. As we all know, in the NFL, what your quarterback situation is so indicative of kind of where your organization is and what the ceiling is. Here's what Yahoo has to say about Titans quarterback Will Levis. Will Levis was practically what draft analysts thought he would be, good and bad. His aggressive nature and physical gifts led to some impressive big plays. He also was way too careless at times. He had a big-time throw on 5.9% of his dropbacks. That's tied for 4th best in the NFL among QBs with 125 attempts. He also had a turnover-worthy play on 4.5% of his throws, 3rd worst behind Mac Jones and Desmond Ridder. Basically, anything was possible when Levis dropped back. According to a story from SI.com, new Titans head coach Brian Callahan told general manager Rand Carthon during his interview that he wasn't sure he'd rank any quarterback in the 2024 draft class, which had 6 QBs in the top 12 picks, ahead of Levis. So, Austin, hearing this from Brian Callahan, high praise, because sure, maybe you're not drafting Michael Penix or Bo Nix above
J.J. McCarthy
over Will Levis. But this is Brian Callahan saying he's not sure he'd take Caleb Williams and Drake May and Jaden Daniels over Will Levis. High praise from the Titans' new head coach, but the reality here that Will Levis had a lot of turnover-worthy plays and was kind of on a roller coaster as an individual as a rookie.
Yeah, I think he was on a roller coaster as an individual because he was on a roller coaster ride as far as like how much pressure he was going to get and when he was going to get it, right? It was one of those surprise rides that he was on because I think that's if you're trying to talk about Will Levis in a nutshell going into this year, it's let's see how much is actually his fault. Because last year it's like, I don't know how much is Will Levis's fault. But this year I feel like once Latham gets settled, the right side of the offensive line gets also settled, and the new offense gets to clicking, and maybe give it a month, I think is fair. But how much is going to be Will Levis's fault? And so that is, what we truly don't know, because the turnover plays every 4 whatever type passes or attempts or whatever it was, like that's 4%, I guess it was. That's, I don't know. Was that because he had to get rid of the football because he had a guy in his face? Was it because he kept getting hit 4% of the time? He probably got hit on a higher percentage of plays than he did have turnover-worthy plays. So, again, we'll find out the answer. How much was Will Levis's fault and how much is Will Levis's fault? So that's kind of how I feel about that comment.
Yeah, I mean, no line, one wide receiver, as Hello Lady said. It was a great situation, and offensive or defensive-minded head coach. Tim Kelly is your offensive coordinator. Like, there was a lot of variables at play, one-dimensional running game that didn't really help Will Levis as a rookie to succeed. And so, there is these kind of, I think, the fear among Titans fans right now. Like, every team goes into the season, and I love playing this game, with one thing in the back of your mind that you're just kind of like worried about. You're like, I feel good about everything, but there's something lingering in the back of every NFL fan base. And for the Titans right now, I do think it is the turnover worthy plays from Will Levis and whether or not he can take care of the football. I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic, but there's also a lot of reasons to look and say, hang on, we don't know just yet if this quarterback is going to be able to step up. But Jeff says, like, Brian Callahan has to say that about the guy he has. I would disagree with that. I mean, This is a job interview for the head coach of the Tennessee Titans, not to be Will Levis's best friend or not a comment he's making while he's the coach of Will Levis. Like, you could very easily walk in there and say, Will, got this analysis of him. We'll see. But if it's not Will, I've got this plan for this next quarterback and all of that. Like, that's what organizations want to hear from coaching candidates. They don't just want a guy to sit down and be like, you guys are doing great. I love everything about this roster. And honestly, it's better than anything in the draft. So,
and then the other thing, he doesn't have to make it public either.
True.
That's the other thing. I mean,
it does benefit him to make it public after the fact, but before, I guess, because it's like, oh, look how much, unless he's wrong.
Unless he's wrong. Yeah.
Unless Caleb Williams and Jaden Daniels are awesome and Will Levis isn't great this year. And then everybody starts looking at him going, really, Brian? This is the guy that you had?
Do you remember when you said this thing? All right. So we went through the quarterback report of Yahoo Sports, who has the Titans as the 27th team in their updated power ranking. So we've got several things to get to. Off-season grade, best case scenario, and nightmare scenario, and a final prediction from Yahoo Sports with this talking through the 27th ranking when it comes to power ranking. So we'll get to all of those. But first, we'll tell everybody about our friends at Holiday World and Splash and Safari. Man, it's been nasty weather the last day and a half or so in Nashville. Maybe you're trying to get the weekend sunshine back in your life. Take the whole family, up just a couple hours north of downtown Nashville to Holiday World and Splash and Safari, the beautiful theme park and the historic theme park in Santa Claus, Indiana. They've got everything that you need for the whole family fun. The brand new ride, Good Gravy. They've got all types of different roller coasters, award-winning coasters, a first launched water coaster in the world with Splash and Safari's water theme park as well. They also have drones in the sky. So they have a show every night this summer with a drone show of 500 drones in the sky. Incredible thing they're doing again after debuting drones in the sky a year ago. So get your tickets today. Free parking, free sunscreen, free soft drinks, all your tickets right there online. The best value at holidayworld.com.
Today's show is powered by BetMGM. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports and sign up with the king of sportsbooks. Get up to $1,500 back in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet doesn't win. Whatever that first wager amount is, that money goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet doesn't win with the king of sportsbooks and BetMGM.com. Austin, we went over the quarterback report from Yahoo Sports. Let's get into the offseason grade because how they view a team's offseason, probably a big factor in how they view the team's outlook in 2024. Here's what they had to say about the Tennessee Titans. A lot of salary cap space, and unlike some other rebuilding teams, they spent early and spent often. Calvin Ridley, Lloyd Cushenberry, Chidobe Awuzie, Tony Pollard, Kenneth Murray. They also traded for L'Jarius Sneed and lost players like Azeez Al-Shire and Danico Autry, and of course, Derrick Henry. The Titans draft wasn't considered great. J.C. Latham at number 7 is an interesting offensive line prospect, being asked to move to left tackle from right tackle. Bill Callahan is a respected coach and the father of the Titans' new head coach, who will be crucial for Latham's development. T'Vondre Sweat, a low-value run stuffer with red flags, and the Titans didn't have a third-round pick, but a lot of quality additions in free agency helped the grade. They give them a B. A B, which we kind of went over some grades on our own last week, and we were kind of in agreement that a B was far too low for the Tennessee Titans.
Yeah, and I don't know how Yahoo Sports grades the other teams, because we went through Seth Walder's ESPN offseason grades for NFL teams and saw that there were several teams, around 7 maybe, that the Titans had better offseasons though than, and deserve to have a higher grade than a B. So I think we can all agree a B ranking is too low, considering the money spent, how bad the roster was previously, to how good the roster is now. But if Yahoo Sports thinks that the Titans offseason was a B, that also might be why they're 27th in the power rankings and not higher. If they think their offseason was a B plus or an A minus, maybe they jump up to 22 or something like that, because the offseason was better than what they currently have them at.
Yeah, I mean, so one, I would say the disrespect to T'Vondre Sweat continues, and I'm so excited for him to prove some people wrong.
We'll see. We got to see him
practice.
practice.
He's an Outland Trophy winner for a reason.
We'll see him practice.
But there is I am a bit confused by this because, what did they just say? Unlike a lot of the other rebuilding teams, the Titans were actually aggressive in improving. The Titans made all of these acquisitions that improved their roster and what they called good quality additions in free agency. And yet they didn't improve in power ranking. Like all of these other rebuilding teams sat on their hands while the Titans made good quality additions, and yet they still have them in the same spot. That's where you can kind of start to look at this and say, make this make sense to me. Because right now there's some inconsistencies. The best case and worst case scenario, this is the part, Austin, where I would say there is an unfortunate truth about the Titans being revealed. This is the part where I do think Yahoo hits the nail on the head and gets it right. And that is with both the best case and worst case for the Titans in 2024. The best case scenario, when you go 6-11, not the worst thing to change everything. While Mike Vrabel was a respected coach, perhaps Brian Callahan is one of those first-year head coaches who surprises the league and leads the Titans to a big season. A new-look offense with Calvin Ridley, DeAndre Hopkins, Tyler Boyd, Tony Pollard, Tajay Spears, and an improved offensive line could be pretty good as long as Will Levis progresses. The defense will also look different with new personnel like cornerback L'Jarius Sneed and purportedly more aggressive scheme with new defensive coordinator Denard Wilson. If Levis hits his ceiling, you just have to imagine him repeating rookie-year performances against the Falcons and Dolphins for most of the season. The Titans are going to feel really good about their future. That, of course, is what everybody's hoping for, that all of those variables, Ridley, Hopkins, Boyd, Pollard, Spears, an improved offensive line, growth from Will Levis, a new head coach, and a better aggressive defense lead to the Titans having a clear future. What's in the nightmare scenario? For all the kind words about Brian Callahan, he has never called plays or been a head coach. We have no idea what to expect from him. And for all of the Will Levis raw talent, there's a reason he fell into the second round of the draft and had more turnover-worthy plays last season than any other NFL quarterback who will start in this one. The Titans' offseason spending spree was aggressive, but we've seen many teams add a bunch of free agents, and it doesn't fix much. The Titans were bad last season and have a lot to prove before climbing out of last place in the AFC South. So why is this then, to me, the unfortunate truth? Because I think, Yahoo does get right all of the things that Titans fans, and you and I included, are kind of clinging to for hope heading into this season. All of the reasons the Titans should be better. And yet the reality that sucks to admit, but is the reality, and we all must acknowledge as reality, is that we don't know anything. And nothing about this version of the Titans has been proven. That Brian Callahan is an unproven head coach. He's an unproven play caller. He's never even been the primary play caller in Cincinnati before. And so while we love the Brian Callahan culture, while the early returns have been positive, he has not run his own offense for a single day in the NFL. And that is reason for pause. Will Levis, as good as all of those flashes were that were mentioned in the quarterback situation excerpt, did have more turnover plays than everybody not named Desmond Ridder and Mac Jones. And Desmond Ridder and Mac Jones are out of a starting job, because they turn the ball over too much. So does Will Levis, who only threw 4 interceptions last year because a lot of his turnover-worthy plays were like dropped or, did not actually blow up in his face. Does he improve on those and take a next step? Or is turnovers just part of his game? And are the Titans good enough to overcome that? I don't know. So even the people who are in Brian Callahan's corner or in Will Levis's corner or believe in this roster, myself being one of them relatively, must admit that nothing is proven. And that is a reason to at least be hesitant before you put all your eggs in the Titans basket.
I'm with you. I think that's what makes this season so fascinating, is because I don't know what to expect either. Like, I got buddies texting me, "Oh, what do you think about the Titans offense?" Like, I go out to OTAs or minicamp. What do you think about it? Like, well, Levis didn't look that good. Or, I don't know. You can't really tell much. They're doing a lot of really cool things in the offensive line in position group drills and everything, but you truly have no idea. They could be crappy. They could be, one thing that wasn't attached to the best case and the nightmare scenarios from Yahoo Sports was any type of record outcome. They were just more contextual, best case and nightmare, right? So like nightmare would be 27th in the NFL, picking 6th or 7th in the NFL draft. Are you looking for a quarterback now? If you're picking 6th or 7th next year, that's a possibility for sure. But there's also a situation where you're not looking for a quarterback, but you're still picking in the top 10 because of the other things around you. And then there's also the best case scenario where this team going 10-7 isn't crazy.
No, not at all. Absolutely not.
This team
isn't going 11-6 isn't crazy.
11-6 might be a little.
But
crazy.
I mean, you're talking like they're over 500. They're fighting, and it's a game here, a game there.
Yeah,
like
I don't think making the playoffs is not crazy to say.
I fully agree with that.
But it's also not crazy to say that they could be picking 7, 8, 9 in the
that
draft.
They could go 6-11 again.
Yes.
And I don't think so. Like, I think objectively, this is an improved roster as a whole, but just because you have an improved roster doesn't necessarily mean you improve your record in a big way, because you don't know about two of the most important things in the sport, which is your head coach / play caller and your quarterback. I've got good feelings about both. I think they're heading in the right direction. And I think even if Will Levis isn't the guy, Brian Callahan and the Titans have now set themselves up for the next quarterback and the next option where they're in a good position regardless. And you as a Titans fan can take a ton of comfort in knowing that. But if we're looking immediately at 2024, this is the truth that I do think we all have to acknowledge, is that it's a little bit foolish if we're going into training camp guns ablazing expecting the Titans to be AFC South champions. They were last place in the division last year. It was a really, really competitive division that has a lot of really young, talented quarterbacks. CJ Stroud is a beast. The Texans spent big this year. Indianapolis was very good. They improved this offseason. If Anthony Richardson is fully healthy, that's more reason they should be even better. Like Jacksonville, we'll see. I still think they're, more competitive than Titans fans maybe want to believe. They're going to be in that hunt. And so you do have 3 good teams to climb over to get yourself to that spot, and you need a lot to go right to do it.
Yeah, but I think we've seen in the AFC South the last 2 seasons, the incumbent who was the favorite going into that next year that won the division the year before gets off to a hot start and then absolutely falls apart and
Oh yeah.
crumbles at the end, right? Titans in 2022, 7-3, and then lose 7 straight to end it. And we know about that history. Then you had the Jags last year, I believe, were 7-4, maybe even 8-3, and then they crumble and miss the playoffs because the Titans beat them in the week 18 game, and the Texans were able to do that. So what happens this year with the Texans, the incumbent, who is supposed to be the world beater from the AFC South to take that next step? Can they deliver on it? Because the 2 teams previously haven't.
Yeah, I will say too, and this is not working in the Titans' favor as far as this aspect is concerned. Like, part of the reason that I think you see the incumbent go down all the time in the AFC South is that schedule. Is that if you're not one of like the top dogs in the AFC, and now you're playing a first place AFC schedule, you've got dates with the Chiefs and the Bills and the Ravens and teams that you really typically would not want to see. The Titans, I think, have gotten a little bit hosed in this sense because they've got a last place schedule, but I think they've the most difficult last place schedule possible. A lot of the teams that they're playing as typical like last place teams are not real last place teams coming into 2024. Like, they play Chicago, but Chicago's so much better than they were last year. They play the Jets, who have healthy Aaron Rodgers now and are not the same Jets team. They play the Cincinnati Bengals, who were last place in the AFC North, but dealt with injuries to Joe Burrow for half the season.
Mm-hmm.
They play the last place Los Angeles Chargers, who still have Justin Herbert and now have a new head coach, in Jim Harbaugh. So it is not like you're getting rolled out a bunch of pancake, like easy games and a bunch of like easy wins and stuff. The Titans are being handed a very difficult last place schedule as far as those are concerned, which won't help them a ton.
Yeah, you look at it, the teams that they play for being last place, because they play the entire NFC North, they play the entire AFC East. So you're automatically going to get the Bears and get the Jets with those 2 schedules. But you look at it, and that's where the Bengals and the Chargers come in, because that's the last place draw.
The good one that you get, I guess, is maybe Washington as like the last place draw, but like
those are your 3 variables. It's Chargers, Commanders, and Bengals for being dead last year. That's the 3 teams that you match up with for last place finishes.
But throw that up there again real quick.
Yeah.
I mean, because I think looking at the Titans schedule in years past, there's always been a couple of games that I said, whether it was an AFC South opponent or like Carolina last year, where you go into it and say, yeah, there's a win. Where is the easy win on the schedule? Where is the game that you go into it and say, oh yeah, the Titans should have this one?
Week 9.
Week,
that one.
Like New England, week 9.
Yeah, that's the only game.
That's the only game I would feel good about.
Well, how about this, Sam? I'll take it a step further. The week 9 home game against the Patriots is the only game the Titans are currently favored to win. They're not favored to win because against the Commanders, because it's at DC, right? So they're a slight road dog against the Commanders in week 13. The only game they're favored in it is week 9 against
I think those are the 2 arguments is Washington, but on the road, and like that's after Jaden Daniels has a lot of opportunity to potentially, figure out the NFL a little bit and get his footing under him. To go to Washington is tough, but you're talking like, especially the hardest part of this schedule is the beginning. To me,
yes,
I think that first 4-game stretch is the most difficult 4-game stretch of the schedule and possibly the most important, because you're talking about, like we just said, year 2 of a quarterback who has a lot to prove, a head coach who has a lot to prove. You're really looking to capitalize on the culture and momentum you've gained here during the summer and that you'll continue to build on during training camp. You want to come out strong. You come out 1-3 in that first 4 weeks and head into a bye week in week 5. I think it's going to let the wind out of your sails really quick.
We can go down a rabbit hole of this conversation, but like I think you can be 1-3 in the first 4 weeks, but you have to be.
You can. I look at that and I say they've got a little bit of an uphill battle with the most difficult stretch of their schedule right off the bat, but. Anyways, yeah, that is a rabbit hole a little bit.
All right, so let's go ahead and get to our question for the audience today, because Sam and I went through, we just talked about the Yahoo power rankings having the Titans 27th. Let's go through on where Yahoo was most right about the Titans overall. Where was Yahoo the most right about the Titans? I'll have Sam kind of run through the overall points that the Yahoo Sports article had about the Titans being 27th. But where was Yahoo Sports the most right about the Titans power rankings being 27th in the NFL? We'll get to your answers real quick after I tell you about Farm Bureau health plans. That's where you should turn for you, or maybe your family, maybe your growing family, maybe you're empty nested family with you and your spouse. You need to turn to Farm Bureau health plans for whatever your situation is, because they can really help you save money and have better coverage. That's the best of both worlds. I say that nearly every day because it's true. Farm Bureau health plans have been able to do that with Zach Bingham, been able to do that with my parents, been able to do that with so many different people in Tennessee over 77 years of serving Tennesseans. Farm Bureau health plans has continued to get better and better with what they do to make sure that you have the right thing for your situation, and not just a cookie cutter place you in a box and pigeonhole you into a certain category. Nope. It's all about what's best for you. And Farm Bureau health plans does that every day. And you can get a quote by using our link by going to fbhp.com/ATOZ.
Today's show powered by BetMGM. BetMGM is the king of sportsbooks. Use the bonus code ATOZ Sports when you sign up with BetMGM for up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Whatever your first wager amount is, that money goes back into your account in the form of a bonus bet if your first bet loses. So whenever you do sports betting next, make sure you're doing it with the king of sportsbooks and signing up with the code ATOZ Sports on BetMGM and BetMGM.com.
All right, so Sam, I'll let you kind of run through an overview of what Yahoo Sports had the Titans as their 27th best team in the NFL, so 6th worst team in the NFL when it comes to the power rankings that they released this week.
Yep. So we have the quarterback report talking about Will Levis, talking about the high percentage of big-time throws that he made, but an also noteworthy high percentage of turnover-worthy plays, and then big praise from Brian Callahan saying Will Levis over any quarterback in the 2024 draft class. Big praise from the Titans head coach, but some concern about Levis and the turnover rate. We have a B on the offense or offseason grade with some love for their free agent additions and the high-quality additions, aggressive approach for a rebuilding team, but notes that losing Azeez Al-Shire and Danico Autry to a division rival, losing Derrick Henry to the Baltimore Ravens, and an underwhelming beginning of the draft brings down the Titans' offseason grade to just a mere B. The best case scenario is that Denard Wilson's new defense, Brian Callahan's play calling, and all of the new weapons in Tennessee help them feel really good about their future and probably produce a winning season in Music City. The nightmare scenario is that Brian Callahan does not figure it out as a play caller. Will Levis's raw talent falls on its face because of his turnover proneness, and the Titans are still stuck in the basement of the AFC South. The final prediction from Yahoo, the crystal ball says the Titans are a tough team to figure out. They're looking much different on both sides of the ball in scheme and personnel. Will Levis is their most important player, who shifted between electrifying and alarming as a rookie. Calvin Ridley has a wide range of outcomes. Mike Vrabel's final season and a half wasn't good, but he was good at excelling and maximizing the talent on hand. Brian Callahan, we don't know. It doesn't seem like the Titans are ready to take a big step, though it can't be ruled out because there are so many variables. For now, we'll proceed with caution on Tennessee before seeing what their new additions and Levis can do, hence why they come in at 27.
All right. So where is Yahoo Sports the most right about the Titans in this power rankings breakdown? Real quick, have to have a math lesson. Hello Lady says there's only 32 teams, Austin, if they're 27th or the 5th worst. Well, I'm just
28,
so here
29,
are
30, 31, 32.
Yes. So there's 5 teams on the graphic: the Panthers, Patriots, Broncos, Commanders, and Giants. The Titans being the 6th worst team. So sorry to just expose hell ladies like that. But Sam, I'll send you to the chat. Where was Yahoo Sports the most right about the Titans? What are you seeing from there?
To the chat, here we go. Let me try and scroll back here. There's been a lot of debate about the schedule. We got that kind of in here. About Brian Callahan is coming in from John, and Andre says the synopsis is the most right. Pistol Ramsey says most right just off their record from last year. They were right about the coach who has never called a play. Roy says they were right about the O-line being terrible last year. That was their one right point. They were right about their analysis of Levis and his big play and turnover-worthy plays, and they used the stats to back it up. They did do that. Let's see. Trying to scroll here. There's a lot of discussion about week 1 and how many wins the Titans are going to get at. Perhaps a tangent that threw us off. Corey says they got to prove the O-line is definitely upgraded and prove Levis is headed in the right direction, which is where he believes Yahoo was the most right. Corey says, again, we made so many changes. We just got to prove those changes made an impact. John does not agree with the alarming point. Eric says that's actually just a solid article in general and believes that they were pretty on the money. So, Austin, I do believe that the overall synopsis and really the word that I will use to say what if we're going to combine a famous A to Z question here, one word to describe how Yahoo Sports was the most right, variables. To me, I like the fact that they bring up variables, and particularly at the end when they say they're a tough team to figure out. They will look much different. Their most important player shifted between electrifying and alarming. And Calvin Ridley also has a wide range of outcomes. I think the Titans might be one of the teams in the NFL with the widest range of outcomes in 2024. Yeah. They're probably the most difficult to figure out and pin down just because so much has changed and there's such little established, but there is reasons to be excited about everything. Like you can make an argument for why the Titans will be improved at every single position group, maybe besides inside linebacker on the roster, that they will be legitimately better in every which way. And that's exciting. That gives you reason to believe that a 6-11 team can win a lot more games this year. But you don't know about the head coach. You don't know, like, hey, maybe Mike Vrabel had some flaws in his coaching style, but he did maximize talent and did win a lot of close games. And I think that 6-11 record, the Titans probably outperformed their talent level going 6-11 last season with Mike Vrabel. That
by beating the Jags in the last game, that literally
was probably a 4-13 roster. Like that was a really bad team with looking at that offensive line and all of the injuries that they had. And, they outperformed expectations.
They had no business beating the Dolphins or the Jags in December.
And they did. And then
there's your 4-13.
Part of that's credit to Mike Vrabel. Part of that's credit to Will Levis. But I just think the variables with the Titans are what's going to make this season very fun and very unpredictable. Every week, there's going to be something to watch for. Makes our jobs a lot more entertaining and a lot easier. The fact that everything is kind of something to pay attention to. But I don't envy the spot of being a Yahoo Sports and having to try and place the Titans because if they're at 27, somebody's telling you they're too low. You put them at 22, somebody's going to tell you that they're too high, and you run the risk of looking like a fool either way.
Yeah, and as Scott says, I feel like the Yahoo report was fair compared to how others have rated them. Corey says it definitely was one of the most honest articles, definitely not biased. And I agree with both those guys. And Sam, when asking where was Yahoo Sports most right in their Titans analysis was, my word I was going to use was the unpredictability of what this team's going to be because of the variables. So your word was variables. I was unpredictable. So I think that kind of nicely puts a bow on where they were right. And it's hard to, with variables and unpredictability being at the top, it's hard to disagree with any of the nuance and the details of what they're saying because you have to understand that we don't really know how to project this team overall. So I think that's where they're most right. But I do have somewhere where I think they were the most wrong. So that's what we're going to dive into now. Where was Yahoo Sports the most wrong when it comes to the Titans 27th in the power rankings? Where were they the most wrong in all this? And Lou Man says, we need more likes. We can do better than this, A to Zites. So Lou Man says, get more likes, get more likes. So where was Yahoo Sports most wrong about the Titans being 27th in their NFL power rankings? And Sam, if you could tell us about the great friends that we have at the Bone and Joint Institute.
Well, you'll never go wrong with our friends at the Bone and Joint Institute. They're the region's destination for comprehensive orthopedic and sports medicine care. You don't want to fumble on your recovery, and whenever you get hurt in life, you have to know who to trust. You can trust the Bone and Joint Institute. They're located in Franklin with a state-of-the-art rehab facility right off the highway for easy access to assist you in anything that you need. It's a one-stop shop, everything under one roof: clinic, rehab, imaging, surgery, testing. No driving all over Middle Tennessee to go to your different appointments. You just go to the Bone and Joint Institute. Good doctors, great people, like they get it done. So go schedule your appointment with our friends at boneandjointtn.org.
Have physical therapy at 3 o'clock today. So also BetMGM, you can get your first bet at BetMGM and go big by using our code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ Sports when you sign up with a BetMGM app, and use that promo code because you get up to $1,500 back in bonus bets. Sam, how about this? I was so emphatic about the Tennessee Vols winning the baseball national championship that I forgot that when the Vols were down in game 1, 7-2, I put money in the Vols to win the national championship. I bought low, and I threw a 33% odds boost on that baby. I forgot about that until yesterday when I opened up my app, look at some NBA draft stuff, and hey, look, I was a little bit more rich right there with BetMGM. So you can go big with your first bet by using our bonus code ATOZ Sports. That's ATOZ Sports, up to $1,500 back in bonus bets if your first bet misses. BetMGM and Games remind you to play responsibly. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 or older, Tennessee only, new customer offer. All promotions subject to qualification and other requirements. First online real money wager only. Rewards issued at non-double bonus bets that expire in 7 days. And for a problem game of sport, call Tennessee Redline 800-889-9789. Sam, we're going through where Yahoo Sports was most wrong. I've got mine. It's fairly easy. Where Yahoo Sports was most wrong, but I want to see what the chat's saying on this one. So what's the chat say about where they were most wrong?
John said,
real quick, because how much did I win? Look, I'm not telling you what my units are because my units are my units. But I did get the Vols at plus 180 to win the College World Series when trailing. Yes.
They were big favorites then, huh?
They were big favorites going into it, but they were down 7-2 in game 1. I believe it was plus 180 to win. And so to win 2 games, right? Because that game was done. So I didn't put any big money on it, but it was nice. It was nice.
There you go. There you go. All right. Where's Yahoo Sports the most wrong about the Titans? John says the alarming word used for Will Levis on offense. It was the offensive line. Austin, do you think Will Levis was alarming as a rookie at times?
No.
I don't think so either. I mean, I understand where they're coming from because the turnover-worthy plays are notable. Like, he was reckless at times as a rookie in a way that might both, with the football and with his body. Let's not forget the fact that he's diving around all over the place, getting himself kind of injured. Reckless you can use, but alarming, no. If anything, there were moments that I was more electrified by Will Levis as a rookie. I think there were far more moments that made me stand up and go, whoa, look at that throw. Whoa, look at this guy. Or, hey, the Titans have a quarterback, far more often than I was like, what are we doing? Like that didn't really happen a ton. So good point from John there.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. What was the alarming? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I wouldn't use the word alarming by any means.
Pistol Rams says they were the most wrong about us losing Henry. We let him walk, and you could easily make the argument now that kind of the pain has subsided. Titans fans can look at it maybe a little bit more objectively and say, no Derrick Henry in Nashville, maybe better for the Titans moving forward. Like, you could make an argument that that's a legitimate upgrade that they have at that position and not necessarily something that we need to be mourning.
I make that argument.
Yeah. Let's see. We've got most wrong with just ranking us 27th, says Jared. Lou Man's in that same boat, saying 27th is far too low. Titans Cal says the analysis of the draft to an extent. JC was a really good pick and the upside of the Sweat pick, despite what he feels like about the chance to trade back. Yeah, I do think they were harsh as well on the draft as a whole. Like, I guess maybe JC Latham's not an exciting pick that like makes you run home and, hoot and holler and all that stuff. But they kind of worded it like the draft was a knock on the Titans offseason.
They
And I
did.
think a lot of people inside Tennessee right now are feeling good about the complementary pieces they added in the draft.
I think the JC Latham pick has looked better the more and more we are removed from the draft. Like I know what my initial reaction was with the Latham pick was, how did you not trade down in that spot? Right. And I get, but now after watching how JC Latham approaches everything, I'm like, this guy is a grown man. He's a professional already, and he's going to put all the work into it. And he's got the physical traits and tools to make it all work. So I think I am very, very excited to watch JC Latham's pro career play out, where I was skeptical at the last weekend of April. But to me, it's like Yahoo Sports has not been following JC Latham throughout the month of May and June. And they're just still looking at it as like April 28th.
And there is some sort of like an effect there that exists. One within like a lot of teams, but specifically small market teams. I think people are like guilty of this, is you're not in the weeds on the everyday of a team where you don't watch guys practice. You might not hear things that the head coach is saying about a quarterback or what. Like I remember, last year we had this, big long debate about like all throughout training camp about who the starting quarterback was going to be. And, it's a national storyline every day. And it's like, if you've been to training camp, you've listened to Mike Vrabel speak, Ryan Tannehill's starting to open the season. It's not really a huge secret. And then that's one of those examples, I feel like, where, in Nashville, JC Latham's stock is growing and growing and growing. But nationally, I think we're pretty stagnant on where he was as of the draft.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and go into mine. Where I think Yahoo Sports was most wrong was their offseason grade of it being a B. And I think the offseason grade was better than that. They said a lot of quality free agency additions help the grade. We just talked through JC Latham, so I would have that being a higher, because they're talking about the risk that is him moving from right tackle to left tackle and just leaning on Bill Callahan to make it work. T'Vondre Sweat still has some things to prove. I think as a 38th overall pick, I'm not going to run away from that. I still think he has something to prove. But I think Ridley, Cushenberry, Cheeto, Sneed, and then Tony Pollard, who is mentioned in this, I feel very confident in. Kenneth Murray's still a wild card. I think the offseason grade is way better than a B. So I think overall, this is where they were most wrong, which, like I said earlier, I think if the offseason grade was at least a B+, does that jump them a couple spots in the power rankings from just being 27th? Because that's the whole point of what the offseason was. They flipped so many new starters. Like, I've got this graphic pulled up here, Sam, of all the new starters. Jack and I talked about this one day. Look at all these new starters. And I think I left off somebody in this too. So I think this is legit. That's flipping half the damn roster of your starters of a bad football team, of players that have done this, a lot of veterans there. And I think, and you're obviously keeping Jeff and
those guys who could be starters too. Like, we don't know who's starting at right guard and right tackle and stuff. And those could be newly acquired players.
Charles could be on that, right? Yeah, for sure. So I think the offseason grade being a B is low. This team is way better than 27th. I'm not going to argue that they should be a playoff spot power ranking, but I think look, we don't know where Yahoo Sports has these others because they're releasing them one day after the next. I think the Titans there would be a lot of arguments that could be had and be good conversations about probably like 18 to 24 is where I think the Titans range could be. And I could be understanding of really any of those spots.
Sure. So go ahead and throw these up real quick. The teams that are ranked below the Titans. So it's the Panthers, Patriots, Broncos, Commanders, and Giants. And ultimately, this is where I start to kind of have a problem here, is just some of the teams that are not ranked below the Titans. I think it is absolutely crazy to put the Arizona Cardinals ranked higher than the Tennessee Titans. The Cardinals are ranked 25th on this list. That's nuts to me. They won 3 games last year. They haven't improved enough. I don't believe in Kyler Murray the way the rest of the NFL seems to be like still believing in Kyler Murray, even though they lose games every single season. I don't know how many times a quarterback can have a losing record before teams stop believing in the upside that he had as the number 1 overall pick. The Gardner Minshew-led Raiders are ranked ahead of the Titans. That one's not cool with me. I don't believe this Raiders team is anywhere close to the Titans. I think they have a worse head coach in Antonio Pierce. I think they have a worse quarterback in Gardner Minshew. They have worse weapons. Raiders ahead of the Titans, nuts to me. I wouldn't put the Minnesota Vikings ahead of the Titans either. Without Kirk Cousins and going into a J.J. McCarthy / Sam Darnold-led team, yeah. I think, they don't have much pass rush either. They just lost Danielle Hunter and much of their defensive line. So your defensive front and your quarterback seem to be major, major weaknesses. Where did the Titans get it wrong? Or where did Yahoo Sports get it wrong? It's not giving the Titans any improvement at all because of all of those new starters that you just showed. And I do think, with all of this turnover, and if you can objectively look at the offseason grade like they do and say that they made a bunch of good quality additions in free agency that helped them across the board, and you look at what they were last year, I don't see how there is not some sort of jump and boost because they were more aggressive than any of the other teams in the same ballpark as them. Like, how do they not pass some of those teams? That's a foreign concept to me.
I think there's no other team in the NFL that improved with new pieces more than the Titans. Like when you're talking about grading an offseason, like the Eagles got a high grade from Seth Walder because they made good decisions about in-house situations, right? Like the Colts had a higher grade because they make good decisions about extending players in-house. But the Titans had so much work done from the outside to improve. That's why it should be much better.
Another team that was worse than the Titans that I'm sitting here going, how did they remind me how they got better is the Los Angeles Chargers. How did the Chargers get better? Are we putting that much in just Jim Harbaugh being the head coach of the Chargers that we're bumping them up multiple wins? Like, hey, I love Justin Herbert, but they sucked with Justin Herbert last year.
Yeah, well, I mean, I think people say Brandon Staley cost the Chargers so many games.
Maybe.
With bad in-game decisions. But then they...
Chicken or the egg, though. I mean,
Yeah, but who's he throwing to?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's part of my point is like Keenan Allen had a monster year, maybe the best year of his career for the Chargers last year. He's gone. Mike Williams has had some big, big games for them when Keenan Allen has been out in the past. He's gone. Mm-hmm. You are basically taking Justin Herbert. They lost Austin Eckler, did they not?
Yes, he's in Washington.
He's gone.
Literally.
So
your best 3 weapons surrounding Herbert are gone.
And
then you draft the best offensive lineman to play right tackle.
And that team was worse than a Titans team, and I believe lost to a Titans team.
Yes, that's what the difference maker was.
And they were worse than a Titans team that had a banged up Will Levis, a banged up Ryan Tannehill, a horrible offensive line, and maybe the worst secondary in football. And that team made aggressive moves to completely flip their roster and bolster their position groups that were at their worst, while one team had cap hell and basically dumped all of their best weapons. Make it make sense why one of those teams is ranked higher than the other.
I'm with you.
So,
well, look, I think overall this has been a strong show, very strong show with what we have. We do have the Magic Bucket coming up. I do want to tell everybody though, because it is June 27th, and because I had a little fun when the schedule came out with Jack and I about a pre-recorded show with the win-loss predictions, and we had some fun getting you guys with that. But I will say this, tomorrow and next week, we will be doing different type of shows because we always take off the week of the 4th of July. It's our summer break, but we will have content. So Sam and I will be doing shorter video topics over the next week. So that starts tomorrow and goes through next week. and then we'll be back live on July 8th on that Monday. So they will be recorded next week. They'll be shorter for you guys to get a little taste of some Titans talk over the holiday week, but that's what we're going to do. So just a heads up on that. Pre-recorded and not long, because that was like a 45-minute pre-recorded broadcast that Jack and I did about a month and a half ago. All right, time for the Magic Bucket. To Wilson County Hyundai. WilsonCountyHyundai.com is where to go to get save money on your new ride. So check them out online, WilsonCountyHyundai.com, and go see them in Lebanon. Sam, it has been quite a long time since you've done the Magic Bucket.
Yeah.
Since your elf ears when
I don't have good Magic Bucket luck. I feel like I get pretty
nobody has good Magic Bucket luck. That's
sometimes.
The point. That's the point.
Sometimes.
That's the point.
Zach has good Magic Bucket luck.
Well, he just avoids it altogether. All right. I dropped some slips. All right. So I will let you go first because, this is newish to you again. Okay. Sam, do you shower in the morning or do you shower at night, and explain yourself?
Both is my answer to that. More frequently at night, but every time in the morning. I don't leave the house without showering. So I don't always shower first thing when I wake up before the show here, but if I'm going to leave the house, I'm getting in the shower. But I also shower maybe 3 times a day.
3 times a day shower.
I like a good shower. I like to feel fresh. I like to feel clean. So yeah, it's pretty consistent. It's like 1 before I leave, 1 after the gym, and 1 before bed. It's a lot of showers for me, but hey.
Yeah, Shrike says Sam out here killing his hair.
I don't wash my hair every time.
Okay, good.
Only most of the time.
Only most of the time. What percentage of showers do you wash your hair?
75, but I've got nice thick hair.
Yeah, because you're 24.
My dad has nice thick hair. We're good.
Never know. All it takes is one person in your family to have male pattern baldness. And that's all it takes is one person in your family, and you could pick it up.
I don't think there is one person. I'm not worried about it.
Okay.
One thing that I will never but yeah, I do like to shower a lot.
So man, I can't do a show without showering.
Usually I can't do a show without a shower or a ton of coffee. So that's my my substitute. But if I would never leave the house. People make fun of me a lot because I shower before I go work out basically every day.
Before you work out?
Yeah. And I know it doesn't make a ton of sense, but it's if I'm going to go perform at my best at the gym, I need to feel rejuvenated and fresh and alive and awake. And so, yeah, a little 5-minute shower before a workout never hurt anybody.
Yeah,
and that's not crazy.
Rashid says you're crazy, and people are asking, what's your water bill look like?
Fine.
Like, what is that? Your water bill's worth it.
I don't. Yeah, I'm not sharing that. But
all right, so this is all right. My Magic Bucket. All right. A, you get a bonus throw-in shade this week. Okay.
You got to throw shade twice.
I didn't get to throw shade on Tuesday because I was off.
Okay, so you throw shade now because next week there isn't a show to throw shade.
That's right too. But yeah, I got a bonus shade that I get to throw from the Magic Bucket. So I feel like I have a lot of shade to throw this week. There's been so much that's happened. I mean, is Jim Schlossnagle one of the worst human beings in the profession of coaching? This guy looks like an absolute turd.
I'm super unfamiliar with who you're talking about. So
you have no idea what I'm talking about.
Jim what?
Schlossnagle.
Excuse you.
The current Texas Longhorns baseball coach who just coached Texas A&M in the College World Series. And then in the post-game, you have not seen this, Sam?
So wait, so why did he coach Texas A&M if he's the coach at Texas?
Because he took the Texas job the day after they lost the World Series.
Oh.
And in the post-game press conference, Texas fired their baseball coach the day of Game 3. I don't know how you're a baseball guy. Where the hell have you been this whole week?
Major League Baseball.
Jim Schlossnagle berated a reporter in the post-game press conference who politely asked, with respect to the tough ending of tonight, do you have any thoughts on a high-profile job opening and your potential of being a candidate for that? And which was a fair question to ask and asked in a respectful manner. Jim Schlossnagle then dumped all over this reporter and said that it was a selfish question. He talked about all these things that he's given up to come to Texas A&M. He left his family. He's given everything he had to this job. And how dare he ask a question that is an unfair question. And then he told her, this is the other thing, off camera, he walked up to the reporter after the press conference and says, I'm never talking to you again. And then guess what he does? He goes back to College Station. He goes to his office, greets Texas A&M fans, puts on a smile, greets Texas A&M fans. And then 2 hours later, he takes the Texas job that he was asked about the night before.
That's it's very Brian Kelly-esque.
Yes, his players learn about this on Twitter, including the 12th man guy, the pinch hitter of all these things. And then it goes even further. Apparently, he and his coaching staff have been working on this for months about this Texas job. And he did the same thing to TCU 3 years ago. So Jim Schlossnagle.
This man goes from TCU to Texas A&M to Texas, and he's just climbing the ranks in the state.
Look, and here's the thing. I have no problem with somebody climbing the ranks. I have no problem with Jim Schlossnagle taking the Texas job that's going to pay him reportedly north of $3 million a year, which is nearly double his salary at A&M. I have no problem with somebody bettering their family situation and their future family situation with salary increases and promotions and job opportunities. But it's about how you leave the one that you were at. And he did it wrong every step of the way. And then he goes into his Texas introductory press conference and just says things that's going to make Sam take a fourth shower of the day. All these cringy things, dirty, slimy, sleazy. Jim Sleazenagel should be his name. Jim Sleazenagel is a terrible person. He's a good baseball coach, but if I was a player, there is no way in hell I'm going to play for him at Texas because of how he's botched this entire situation. There is a way to do this, not how he did it. Huh.
It was good shade. That was a good shade.
I'm not done. I've got more shade because Zach Edey going to the Memphis Grizzlies is the richest thing I have seen when it comes to the irony than in sports, right? Because I watch, and look, I don't care about the Grizzlies, but there are a lot of Grizzlies Vols fans out there, and this is my message to Grizzlies and Vols fans who've been hating on Zach Edey for the last 2 years.
Hey, Bob, you remember the other day you were asking me what the definition of irony was, and I said,
This is the most ironic thing I've ever seen because there are a large group of Vols fans who also love the Memphis Grizzlies. And the fact that they drafted Zach Edey, public enemy number one, is the funniest thing I could have possibly seen happen last night in the NBA draft. It is hilarious. I don't care about the Grizzlies. I still hate Zach Edey. But Zach Edey's now in the state of Tennessee playing professionally for however long rookie contracts are in the NFL, and it could not be funnier to me.
Yeah, I mean, this is kind of happening to Tennessee fans here. It's like they made it their mission to knock Will Levis down every way that they could while he was at Kentucky and before the NFL draft. And then it was like, he's a Tennessee Titan. And that was ironic. And that's what they've been doing since March is like booing Zach Edey. And I get it. And I love it. And I respect it. Illinois fan, I dealt with them a lot. I hate Zach Edey as much as everybody else. And I told Tennessee fans while they were getting frustrated by the whistle and by the way Zach Edey played basketball during the NCAA tournament, hey, welcome to my world. I've been like complaining about this for 3 years and nobody has seemed to pay attention until now it's on a national stage. And now everybody's like, yo, this dude's kind of obnoxious. And they started to knock him down and hated him. And he was public enemy number one. And now Memphis Grizzly. It is poetic in a way.
so funny.
And yeah, Dalton Connect ends up going to the Lakers too, which, is perfect for him and not perfect for Grizzlies fans. But
look, I think the irony to go further into this is that, look, Tennessee Vol fans who are Tennessee Titans fans love Derrick Henry, Heisman Trophy winning running back from the University of Alabama. So it's not about that. It's about what Tennessee Vol fans view the player.
I will also say this though. Let's add context here though, because I do think it's important to note that while Derrick Henry was dominating at Alabama, Tennessee was not all that competitive at football the way that they are now.
Right. There was a respect factor of Derrick Henry is a dominant being in college football, won the Heisman Trophy. The Titans drafted him. That's good for my pro football team if I'm a Vol fan. But it's the fact that the Tennessee Vols fans did not respect Will Levis at Kentucky. They beat him twice. He had some antics. He had some comments about real football and the Vols offense. Will Levis kind of stuck his foot in it too a little bit, and I'm sure he would admit that in hindsight as being a young kid saying things in a press conference before a college football game. And then it's Hooker was a better college player than Levis that last year, and the Titans picked Levis over Hooker, right? There's that. And then there's the whole thing about Zach Edey. Is that the Vol fans hate Zach Edey. They've lost to him like 3 years or 2 years in a row. He's annoying as hell. You can doubt Zach Edey because of how he's officiated. And is he really that good or is he just gigantic? Like that is a fair, valid conversation to have. He's got skill, but does he have that much skill to dominate or is he just getting the benefit of the whistle? And so you can have that conversation. Then there's Dalton Connect, who is a unanimous All-American, who is a great player, a work-hard guy, a very likable figure. Zach Edey's not likable at all. And then you have that dynamic of the Grizzlies potentially taking Connect, who they didn't need for roster construction. They needed a big person, and there's the biggest person of them all, Zach Edey, right there. So that's kind of the whole situation with the two, Levis and Edey.
Yeah, I do think, there is a part of this as well, and part of what makes it so ironic, but part of what I think makes Tennessee fans feel very passionately about this now versus 10 years ago is just one, where Tennessee sports are now compared to 10 years ago, and where Vols fans kind of view them, how they view themselves as a team in college sports, as a university in college sports, how they view their own players. And yeah, it's very easy when you're kind of getting your butt kicked and you're like middle of the road in the SEC and Alabama is top dog to be like, hey, I'll take the running back from Alabama. There's no problem. But when you have this view of yourself and like this sense of self-importance as Tennessee, as being more than Kentucky, as being higher than Kentucky in college football, and then you feel like, the person that's being drafted to your favorite team is on a team that's below yours. You don't have the same respect for other teams that you did when you were in the middle of the pack. And I think that's the same deal with Tennessee basketball here. Is like, hey, if this is Tennessee a couple of years ago, but or 5 years ago, 6 years ago, before they were like having a legitimate run in the tournament, when they were getting bounced early in the first round, and then you've got Zach Edey going on this Cinderella run late into March Madness, maybe people don't have the same perception of Zach Edey. But Tennessee fans, I think, believe they were a better team than Purdue and that they should have won that game and should have won the Final Four. And the way that Zach Edey was officiated in that game, the way he plays that game, cost them that opportunity, which fuels this hatred, which is driven by this sense of like, hey, we're better than you. We should be better than you. And to now have him land on your team, it's just this big bubble of irony.
It's so good.
It comes with the territory, and I don't necessarily think it's going to slow down, nor do I want it to. Part of the thing that I love and hate, but I love to hate about the University of Tennessee and the fans is that it's just this undying passion that we're the best and you suck. And I don't care who you are or what team you play for or whether or not you beat us, you still suck. And if you're on my favorite professional team, you still suck. But I love it because like fan bases like that are what make college sports so fun. Yep. And since Jack is no longer on the show, I can say is what makes a team like that winning a championship in baseball so fun as well. As much as everybody loved to hate Jordan Beck and Tennessee a couple of years ago when they first started to take Vols baseball to a national scale. Watching those teams that have fun and a fan base that likes to go and just have a good time at the ball game win a national title, and a big national brand like Tennessee being more nationally relevant, good for the sport as a whole. Yes. So don't change, because I love to hate it and everybody else loves to hate it. Keep it rolling.
And there's more shade. Like, I'm not going to go too much longer, but there's more shade again surrounding the University of Tennessee, because Greg McElroy could not have been weirder this entire week when reacting to the Tennessee Volunteers winning the national championship in baseball. His comments at Tony Vitello, calling them appalling, and he's a WWE character, and that it's embarrassing, and then his weird ass apology the next day that made absolutely no sense. Weird. Greg McElroy deserves shade for both his comments initially and shade for his apology, in my opinion, trying to get sympathy by talking about his personal life in today's society, because Tony Vitello ate ice out of the Gatorade bath and then jumped into the crowd and celebrated a national championship is beyond me. And then the whole Jim Schlossnagle, move.
I like coaches like that too. Like, wait, he called him a WWE character?
Yes, I don't have the video.
That's sick. I love coaches that are WWE characters. Like, baseball coaches / managers are so frequently falling in line to this, like, buttoned up, respect the game, like, gotta just, like, you wear the full uniform, pants and jersey and all this stuff. Like, it's this very kind of like corny, like, professional thing if you just get a boring manager / coach. I love the personality. I love Tony Vitello, who's got some flair and some spunk to him. And you just won a national title. All bets are off, dude. Nobody would even take your pamphlet 6 years ago. And like, sold 100 tickets to every game, and now you're the national champs. Like, you can do whatever the hell you want. I do not care.
All right. So my shade recap is Jim Schlossnagle. It's Zach Edey and
again. Bless you again.
Oh yes, no, sleaze, not sneeze. Sleaze, because he's a sleaze bag.
It sounds like a sneeze.
Schlossnagle. And then it's the entire Zach Edey situation with the Grizzlies. And then a fourth shade, because Sam, you said Jack is no longer on the show.
He's not on the show. You're talking about today. Yeah. Well, in case anybody didn't pick up on the bit, we did not mention it on Tuesday. And, so now that is no longer the bit that we're doing, I can bring up the fact that Tennessee did, in fact, win a baseball game on Monday night.
Yes. So Jack is still with the company and will be on shows when we come back from our 4th of July break. So next week, starting tomorrow, recorded shows, shorter shows. Somebody asked, why don't you guys just go live for a shorter time? Because then we would just continue to go, and this is our break, guys. We get to do some things, work ahead, and take a couple mornings to do some other work. Like, I'm not working.
We're going to get some of them done all at once, and then give you guys content for the rest of the week while giving us a little bit of
a little bit of a break from morning shows, but still doing a lot. The work doesn't stop, because I've already got meetings stacking up early next week before the 4th. So we will not see you guys live until July 8th. Hope everybody has a great weekend. Hope everybody has a great 4th of July holiday. If you're traveling, be safe. And we'll see you guys back live on July 8th. Before then, we'll have content flowing. So we'll catch you guys later on. But always make sure you hit that like button to end the show. Like the show before you go. It goes a long way for us. And we appreciate all of you guys for doing that. So we'll catch you later. Appreciate it as always.
I need a break. It's been so long.